So this week I found myself back in LA, the city of angels, to try and get to the root problems of this beautiful 190 SL and bring it back to life. Because after a short layup, the car had simply refused to start. I suspected dirty stale fuel and possible corrosion in the tank, along with fuel turning to varnish blocking up jets in the carburettors. The fuel pump was the wrong one, without the primer on, and the fuel filter had a broken cork seal resulting in a leak and air being drawn into the system. A new fuel line, correct fuel pump, points, rotor arm and fuel filter. Methodically, I set about a rebuild of the car's fuel and ignition system, along with a quick clean of the spark plugs and new ignition parts fitted. It was clear the car still wasn't happy. So here I am just 2 months later, determined not to be beaten. Thankfully, in my absence, Dan had taken the initiative and ordered a new fuel tank from Vintage Euro Parts. You see, in my opinion, the root cause of most start problems coupled with rough idling is simply bad or dirty fuel coupled with rust when an old tank corrodes and breaks down with age. And with this lovely brand new tank, as always, let's get stuck in. After, I might add, the purchase of a load of tools, as Dan only had 4 spanners, a screwdriver and a hammer, like jacks and ramps and axle stands and spanners and sockets and bars and pliers and a light and gloves, whatever. So time to get rid of that old stale fuel. And a pair of gloves might help. Dickhead. Okay, so looking at this is the first batch of petrol that's come out of it. It's a bit weird in colour, a bit dark. You can see all the rust particles at the bottom as well, which would have been getting sucked into your fuel lines and into your filter, and you know what kind of problems that causes. But anyway, we'll get the rest of it out, drop the tank and get that nice clean new one in. So this is the filter that goes in the lug at the bottom of the tank. And as you can see, I mean, for me, that's absolutely spotless. And I feel a bit bad really, because I've asked him to order a new tank, which he has. He's got a brand new gas tank there, or fuel tank, as we say. But in my mind, that's absolutely perfect. It's spotlessly clean. And I'll show you what's in the bottom of the tub that I've just emptied the fuel into, and basically it's nothing. It's spotlessly clean. So rather than fit a new tank, I think that's perfect. It doesn't need doing. Now look at this. This is just basically what's washed off the outside of the tank. See the black paint? There's no rust at all. That's absolutely spotless. So the tank's staying. So whilst I'm at the back, I might as well replace this awful filler cap with the new original chrome cap, along with a new set of keys. And whilst I'm there, I'll replace this old perished rubber boot with a brand new one. I noticed the rubbers on the overriders had also perished, so these were also replaced. And when I fitted the new boot rubber that Dan had previously ordered, that was the back end complete. And with the fitting of the new beauty rings, at least aesthetically, the car was beginning to take shape. So the first thing I've noticed since getting back is this. Just look at the bend in that. Well, I remember this from last time, and you know the score with that. 1 or 2 more turns, it'll snap off in the lock and it's curtains. But look at this anyway. Put the ignition key in, ignition on. Nothing. Now, the battery is fully charged, so that tells me that the ignition switch is bitten the dust. So there's only one thing for it really, and you know the score with the steel dash, guys. You've got to get behind, undo the nut line on your back in this heat, and just swap the switch over. Let's get stuck in. But first things first, let's get the wind in my hair. Before I left last time, I told Dan to cut a new key, but at $35 for a whole new barrel with 2 new keys, it seemed a much better option. So lucky for me, it's already here. Now this should solve the problem, but if it doesn't, then it's gotta be the starter motor. And if it's not, then I give up. Oh, new starter motor then. I better start making a list. Right, let's take a look at this stuff. Choke cable. And these look promising. So that's the old packaging, so rather than copies, they've come from Italy as well. These look like the originals. I'll say the originals, but they were originally fitted with Solex carbs. Somewhere down the line they're being changed to Mavers. Oh, look at that. The real McCoy, that. This is different, but I can just take what's on the ones on the car off, swap them over onto here and everything should be fine. Yeah, real McCoy. Yeah, again, let's get get stuck in. What's that? Made in West Germany? Jesus, how long has this car been off the road? There's the starter motor. Well, that's going to be fun to remove. Squeezing it through those manifolds. Let's see if these are empty. Yep. And this could be two things. One, the fuel could have evaporated, which I doubt, or the membranes could be leaking. And with the position of that starter motor directly underneath it, and onto those hot exhaust manifolds, well, that's a potential fire hazard. Right, let's swap those bits over. So next to the replacement of that broken show cable, if you remember in the first instalment, this is snapped off by the carburettors, and I did a makeshift repair on it. And after all my contortions and pains replacing this, I realised stupidly I'd replaced the wrong one, obviously being used to a right-hand drive setup. Oh well. I then examined the fuse box, which, as you can see, is rancid. And rather than try and clean this up, I'm going to have to replace it with a new one. So, another $1,400 bites the dust. And another thing added to the ever-growing list. So next I tried to push the car back so I could get a bit more room to fit the carbs. But it seemed completely locked up. Then on further investigation... oh dear. How long has this car been off the road for? Okay, so I'm just looking at the rear brake drums here. If you come in closer, you can see the cylinder's completely rusted up through years of just sitting up. And even the pin at the back, let me get this out, you can see there, that should be like a fork. See the way one of them snapped off, one of the lugs, that goes round here, and when you depress the brakes, it pushes the shoes out onto the drum, and that's what gives you a brake. So basically, these come without these, so I'm going to have to order a new one of these, and new cylinders all round. And of course, you're working with asbestos here, and I never really like to take any chances because it's actually what killed both my parents. Mesothelioma saw both of them off. So asbestos is really dangerous stuff. Don't mess about. I think they did away with it in the 80s or the 90s, but with a car that's been off the road this long, you can't really take any chances. For all I know, these are the original brake cylinders. So it's mask on, and as the saying goes, you only get one set of lungs and one set of parents. But the next surprise was a rude awakening at 3 AM in the morning to the overwhelming smell of fuel. I came down to the garage to find petrol dripping from the new fuel pump. As I put my hand on it, the whole thing fell completely in half. So after mopping up and further examination, I could see the cast inside was completely flawed in construction. This is where the bolt screws in, and you can see the alloy cast is completely deteriorated. So back at Vintage Euro Parts, I return the pump and have a brief conversation with owner Bob. Bob?
Yeah.
How you doing?
All right.
Guy?
Good, Bob. Yeah.
You've got a great place here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And a couple of great cars. These both yours?
Yes. Yes. So what we do here is we sell parts. Like this car was a total rust bucket that we changed all the fenders, all the floors, and the trunk, and all the body is like new.
And this is just being painted, because last time I was here it didn't look like this.
Right. Right. It's getting there, huh?
Yeah.
Runs and drives.
Wow, look at that.
You know.
So it's going to have had everything by the time it's finished.
Yes.
And what year is this? A 58?
This is a 1959.
59.
190 SL.
Yeah. And what about this one over here?
Yeah, this one we had turned it into a race car, into a rent sport. Now we're making it just like original. We put in all the bumpers and everything back on, making it.
So you just put it back to stock, basically, yeah?
Back to stock, yeah.
And are these original bumpers or are these copies, stainless
These
steel?
are made in Vietnam. They're stainless steel.
They look good. The only difference is there's no rubber here, but I'm sure that can be.
Yeah, that's something that we missed.
Yeah.
Putting it together.
So this is going to be concourse when it's finished, isn't it?
Pretty close. Pretty close. Right now we've taken the head apart. Have some issues with the head.
Yeah.
We might have to buy a new head for this.
I'm sure you got one in the back.
No.
So how long has this been going, this business? Like 10 years or so?
Yeah, since 2005, so
18 years?
18 years
Yeah.
I've been doing this, yeah.
And tell me what made you get into this? What made you start up?
So this is where it started. I had a 230 SL and I needed parts for it. And I started buying and selling parts. And next thing you know, now we make our own parts.
Do you know, I used to own a 230 SL,
Uh-huh.
a 113, in exactly the same colour.
Right, ivory color, huh?
Yeah, and I had it for 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had this one for like 10 years.
God, you look young there, Bob.
Right?
What happened, mate?
It doesn't look the same?
So you bought so many parts, you decided to get into it and supply the parts yourself?
Yeah. These are the parts that we make.
Yeah. What do you find you sell most of? Is it like the likes of fuel pumps and brackets and stuff like that?
Right now, the fuel pumps.
Yeah.
The 280 SL fuel pumps.
Yeah.
Is one of the things that we make. We manufacture a lot of parts for that.
Well, a lot of people put the more modern pump on, but I don't think they work properly.
Right.
I think the pressure's too much. It's regulated properly with the original pump, I think. But they're very expensive. They're about what, $1,000?
$1,000 pumps, yes.
Yeah. You must
But-
be minced.
Yeah, but you need it to be original.
Yeah.
And the way we did it is we've manufactured the parts just like original.
Yeah. There's a company in England I deal with who do the same, a place called IntroCar. They do the same for Rolls-Royces. They remanufacture parts that are no longer available.
Right.
And sometimes they're much better than the 50-year-old originals, So.
Yeah, with today's technology, you have better quality.
Absolutely, yeah. And you get the
materials.
purists who say you've got to use original dealer parts, but if they're no longer available, what do you do? And like I said, if they're much better than the originals, you can't knock it,
Yeah.
All right, Bob, look, really appreciate you talking to
Yes,
me.
of course.
And thanks for stocking me up with all these bits anyway.
Yeah.
I'll be back tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
So with an arm full of parts from an ever-growing list, it's slowly dawning on me that I need to get out of that garage and get the backs of my legs brown. No, but seriously, I'm starting to realise what a serious undertaking this has become. And after further conversations, it's been established that a car that hasn't been driven for 2 years is possibly 8 years, maybe even 14 years. And even though started maybe a couple of times during that period, it's quite possible that this car hasn't driven for over 20 years. I suppose it's a prime example of how we can all lose track of time. From a car that Dan just needed to get started, to what's quickly becoming a full-on restoration. And although this is not really what I signed up for, I never like to start any job that I can't finish. But you know what? I could think of worse places to be. In the sun, in the city of angels, 5,000 miles away from home, with a car that's slowly falling apart. Thank you for watching this episode of Classic Obsession. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. And join me next episode when I fit the new brakes, along with more new parts, the carbs, a new starter motor, and finally make progress on what's quickly become a full-on restoration.